this is your tarot reading for 2024. Now, I've been watching your readings for a number of years now, and they've all been about your love life. But I'm not certain this is. I think your past loves do impact on it. So I'm going to focus on big issues. I'm not too certain that the big world issues that are dominating so many people's psychology are having such a great impact on you. If they are, they're doing so indirectly. So normally I would focus on these big issues and how they're impacting on us. But I think yours is a more personal reading. Nevertheless, tarot isn't, and forgive me when I make it seem this way, it's not fortune telling. It's talking about energies that impact on our psychology, both our conscious and subconscious. And I want to emphasise that you have free will, so you can try and run with the better bits and nullify the worst bits. Very difficult to swim against an energy, but if you can see an energy that seems to suit you and you go with that energy, then you can get a more positive outcome. Now, as I say, it's for a year, and I might talk in terms of beginning of the year, end of the year, middle of the year, but I'm not an astrologer. So therefore, I'm not looking at where the stars are on a particular juncture. Now, it is for you, Taurus, don't get me wrong. But to my mind, time is a human construct, and the paranormal rarely respects that construct. So therefore, I'm a bit sketchy on those things. If you want to know what's happening each month, I do monthly readings. I often do a daily reading as well. So you can get that, but this is meant to be about broad issues going on throughout the year. The other thing I want to say is that I'm not conscious of channeling. No, I meditate a lot. That enables me to look at the cards and develop a story. And that's just what I do. Sometimes they're a bit wacky. Some people seem to enjoy it. Not enough, but I think that's more to do with the algorithm than the story. But yeah, looking at you, I do feel that this chaos that has been your love life, while still dominating your thinking, is coming to an end. If you look at the central card, the Emperor, he's strong, he's powerful, he's a wee bit conservative. But yeah, strong and powerful. If we look at your past, you've been left holding the can, I think, from your past love life. You have obligations, you have things that you found it a bit of a struggle. You were probably doing a great job and everybody thought you were doing a great job, except you. Now, you're much more orientated towards doing something, towards action, getting hold of some new information and acting on it. In the future, you're going to have to work with others to achieve something. It's the sort of working with others whereby you all have your specialism and you come together to create a synergy, something better. But you are still reminiscing about the past, and this reminiscing about the past does lead to the outcome. So I don't think it's necessarily healthy. What would be much healthier is to learn new skills, maybe going back to college, maybe training for something, but learning something new. Now the outcome, normally I'd say, is not a bad outcome, it's a very good outcome. It's about aligning your tactics with your strategy and moving quickly towards it. But I've just got this feeling, Taurus, that you haven't really grasped what's going on in the world. Therefore, if you move quickly towards a strategy that's wrong, well, it's the wrong thing to do, isn't it? But let's see. I might, this is just my initial view. So stay with me and see if I've got it right. The energy that dominates this reading is that of the Emperor, which is a beautiful energy to have to dominate a reading. It's an energy of power and authority, which I can see you stepping into. It's a somewhat conservative power and authority, tried and tested ways of doing things. Thank goodness, Taurus. Because for so long you've been dominated by your love life. You've allowed what's gone on in your love life to completely dominate your thoughts. But now I think it's shifting and you really are getting your power back. So I think it's a great sign, a really great sign for you. And Taurus, I know your past hasn't been easy. It must be over 2 years I've been following the machinations of your love life. I even spotted that I think you've been a victim of narcissistic abuse. So to be stepping back into your power is a wonderful thing. Even though it's a slightly conservative power, it's still a wonderful thing for you. The past has left you with maybe family, some things dependent on you, and you struggling somewhat. I mean, maybe you have been left with family to look after. That's the normal interpretation of this energy. And you found it tough going. You think you're doing not such a good job. But I think the world sees you in a completely different way to that. And you have been steadfast. But unfortunately, this has reminded you of the past, reminded you of maybe the narcissistic abuse, certainly reminded you of the tribulations of your love life. But now is the time to break free of all of that. And I do see this happening now. And the change is occurring because early in 2024, you go out trying to seek what action you could take, seeking something new, seeking a new way to live your life. And I believe it really does come to you. Your prayers, as it were, are answered by searching for something. And it's an energy of action, an energy of doing something, doing something that is different, that breaks the mould that has dominated your life for so very long. And I'm very happy for you. I really am, Taurus, because, I remember so many sad readings about your love life. And this is something refreshing, something different, something to look forward to at last. Taurus, you know that this new action, you can't do it by yourself. You need to work as a team with others. What you're trying to achieve, you need others to achieve. But by the same token, you're recognising your own skills. You're recognising those bits that you can do, that you have something useful to give to society. and how others can help you in achieving your goals, working towards a common goal. And you know, maybe for so long you've seen your ex-lover or whatever, or a new lover, as the only solution, and now you're beginning to see solutions with other people, not necessarily lovers, that you need to work together. But yes, you yourself have a valuable contribution to make. So it is stepping very much into your power and back into your confidence. But there is a warning to you. This power, what you need to do, comes from living for the moment and not allowing the past to dictate the future. Not dwelling on the past, not going over old ground, which you have done for so long, about if only I'd done this, if only I'd done that. Not looking backwards. But unfortunately you do have a tendency to still do that. And I think it's inevitable that you will do. But what you mustn't do is dwell on it. This looking back could push you into a course of action that maybe isn't the right course of action. Maybe. But certainly it is through looking back and understanding things, really understanding things, that will liberate you. So I don't want to be too hard on this recollection, providing it's a positive recollection on not making the same mistakes as the past. As I say, this recollection and therefore the outcome is dependent on how we see the outcome, and I'll come to that in a minute. But the way to really change things is to throw yourself into learning a new skill, maybe even going back to college or vocational school, or just something that you learn, but throwing yourself into doing that. And it might be a bit laborious, but it'll take your mind off your preoccupation with what has happened in the past. Take your mind off constantly going over the failures of your love life and constantly feeling sorry for yourself for the position that you're in. So it would be a very positive thing to do. And I know it would be a very positive thing to do. And it would change the outcome. But as I say, it's completely dependent on how we see the outcome. So I don't know, certainly at this stage, that we should read the outcome as bad and that you should definitely do this. But it's certain, the universe is certainly suggesting that if you did, things would be different. Now the outcome is getting your mind sorted out, understanding what you must do, aligning your tactics with your strategy, and moving in a fast direction. And given that the overall energy was that of the Emperor, it's in keeping with that, you stepping into your power. And remember, we also had this card of you looking for what action you should take and finding the action. So maybe I shouldn't see it negatively. Maybe I shouldn't. I just have this worry that whilst it's a very great thing to have everything aligned, if your strategy is wrong and you're moving in the wrong direction, then it's not a great thing to do. However, I have to recognise where you're coming from. what has happened for at least 2 years to you, and where your mind has been. So to suddenly get this true sense of direction and really wanting to do something, I don't think I can say is wrong. But certainly it is suggesting to me that things would be different if you learned some new skill or went back to education in some way. But we need some clarity, don't we? And I'm going to seek clarity on this Six of Cups energy, this card of reminiscence. And the first card we have is of the Hierophant card, seeking answers inside yourself. The next card of clarity we have is the Seven of Cups. Many opportunities, but some might not be what they seem. And then the final one is the King of Wands, an entrepreneurial king, a king of action. Let's look at each individually. Now the first card I said was about you going inside yourself and looking for answers. And to a certain degree that's true, but I've got it a little mixed up. It's the Hierophant energy, which is an energy of you maybe looking towards religion for answers, looking for sort of tried and tested ways of doing things. And of course, what dominates this is the Emperor card, which is a tried and tested, rather conservative approach to things. So it needn't necessarily be about religion. But I think you are finding solutions to the past. Maybe you've even sought professional help because you have been through it. I know you have. And yeah, you've reached a way of doing things that is tried and tested. So I think that has to be very good. And the next energy is the Seven of Cups. Many opportunities, but some were not as good as others. Now, you're reminiscing. And I know from the past, your tribulations of your love life. Maybe instead of you saying, if only I'd done this or that, things could have been different. You're beginning to understand that the cup you picked was the poison chalice. Yes, you picked a narcissist, and you're beginning to understand that and beginning to come to terms with it. And if I've got this right, then this is entirely positive, totally positive. And there's every indication that I am right in saying this. So I'm very happy for you if I've got it right, Taurus. I really am. Now we have, it's the Knight of Wands, not the King of... Sorry, I've got two of these cards I've slightly misrepresented. The Knight of Wands. Yeah, you're beginning to analyse what's happened. And you've realised that you have a tendency to rush into things. And of course that is my worry about the outcome. My worry about the outcome is that you're rushing into a course of action that isn't the right course of action. And that might still hold true, but I think this is about you understanding that in the past you've rushed into things and that you need to give more time and consideration to what you're doing. So I'm hoping that all this is very positive. Let me just say to you that if I'm right about you recovering from narcissistic abuse, it takes time. You probably have to go through the dark night of the soul, which is what I think you're going through. And you will make some mistakes along the way. But in stepping back into your power and doing something, at least you're not stymied in the regret that does come from narcissistic abuse. So I do see 2024 as a very positive reading for you. But I do believe that thing about learning more, going back to learning new things, throwing yourself into that, maybe is just showing you an even better way of doing things. Well, I think we can summarise for you, Taurus. Taurus, I'm making sense of your 2024 tarot reading based on my knowledge of the readings I've done for you for at least 2 years, which have mapped the ups and downs and turmoils of your love life. And I know you've been preoccupied with it. I know you've been thinking about it. But I began by the end of last year to begin to see that you'd been the subject of narcissistic abuse. And so I'm analysing 2024, given that background. And I have to say that you're making wonderful strides in 2024 to overcome energies, feelings that have dominated you for so long. You see, you've been left, maybe with a family, but certainly you've been left with dependencies as a result of the breakup of a relationship. And you've been struggling a bit. You've been very conscious that you've been struggling. I think other people think you've probably been doing well, but you have been struggling. But in 2024, early on in 2024, you sort of seek out what you should do. You might even have sought out professional help for how you're feeling. But you seek out help for what you do, and it gives you an impetus for action. Now, I have to say, I'm a little concerned that the action you take isn't the best action. But given where you've been, any action that isn't about thinking about you being at fault for what has happened to your life is very positive. You do reminisce about the past, but I suspect in quite a positive way. I suspect in a way that you do seek some sort of professional help, or maybe solace in religion, but you do seek help to comprehend what has happened. And to a certain degree you realise that you had a series of options and you took the wrong option. What you took was a poison chalice. You entered a relationship with a narcissist, and it has caused all of these problems in your life for so long, and it takes a long while to recover. So therefore I don't want to be too critical of the course of action you're taking. Almost certainly you will need to take a course of action which involves working with others, recognising your own skills, but working with others. And also recognising that in the past you've rushed into things. So you do absolutely step back into your power. You step back into your power of even leading others, which is something you've not really done for a while. You've been so stymied. So you're stepping back into your power. You've got a sense of direction. You know where you're going and where You're moving there quickly. Now, there is just a warning that maybe that sense of direction is the wrong sense of direction, that once again you're rushing into things. But at least I don't think you're rushing into another relationship, another narcissistic relationship, which is great. Now, how you could improve on 2024 is by taking up more learning. Maybe it's learning about psychology even, or maybe it's just a new skill. But by throwing yourself into it, you would begin to forget all that has happened to you, which would be even more positive. But I don't want to take the shine away from 2024. I think it's a great reading, given what I know about you, Taurus.